It's time for the podcast. Yeah, the podcast is starting.
What's a podcast?
It's all gonna be alright in the end. It's gonna be alright. And if you've got some worries, my dear little friends, please rest your busy minds, because it's finally time for Stories from Now and Then. Hello everybody and welcome back to Stories from Now and Then. We're coming at you live from the old library. Pre-recorded from the old library. It's your good old pal, Captain Blunderface, and we're back with a brand new story and a brand new episode. Well, I suppose it's a brand new old story. A very old story. But it might be new to you. Sure, yeah, now that you mention it, Deprecatus, I'm curious too. How old is this story? Can you remember? You're saying the story is over 180 years old? Wow, that might be older than the library. Wait, you're saying that's just the written version and the spoken version is potentially even older? I guess that makes sense. Stories must have just been told before people started writing them down. But what's hilarious is now people like to listen to stories again through podcasts, which is this hilarious full circle thing. Before we venture into today's story, we have a shout out. And today's episode is dedicated to Nora, who is 5 years old and lives in Alabama, USA. She enjoys swimming, reading, and playing outside. She also loves cats and listening to stories with her mom. So Nora, today's story is for you. Oh, looks like we just got a message from our sponsor. So today's episode is brought to you by the official Stories from Now and Then coloring book companion, which you can find on our website at storiesfromnowandthen.com. And you can color along with the stories as you listen to them. You can also find a free downloadable coloring page by signing up to our newsletter. And with that, we will pass it off to Nicola for today's antiquated yet exquisite story. Take it away.
Okay, I've got to be very careful with this one. It's in an old book, so old and so dusty, but I think it's really special and I think you'll like it. This one is called East of the Sun and West of the Moon. Once upon a time, there was a hunter who would often spend the whole night stalking the deer or setting traps for game. Now it happened one night that he was watching in a clump of bushes near the lake for some wild ducks that he wished to trap. Suddenly he heard, high up in the air, a whirring of wings and thought the ducks were coming. And he strung his bow and got ready his arrows. But instead of ducks, there appeared 7 maidens, or ladies, all dressed in robes made of feathers, and they alighted on the banks of the lake, and taking off their robes they plunged into the waters, and they splashed and played as they bathed in the lake. They were all beautiful, but one especially was so joyous and playful that the huntsman fell in love with her immediately. And so he crept forward from the bushes and seized her feathered dress of plumage and took it back with him into the bushes. After the swan maidens had bathed and played to their heart's delight, they came back to the bank, wishing to put on their feather robes again, and 6 found theirs, but of course the 7th could not. They all searched and they searched until at last the dawn began to appear, and the 6 sisters called out to the 7th, "We must away, 'tis the dawn, goodbye, good luck." And with that, they donned their robes and they flew away and away and away. When the hunter saw them fly away, he came forward with the feather robe in his hand, and the Swan Maiden demanded that he give her back her robe. He gave her his cloak, but he would not give her her robe, feeling that she would fly away and he would never see her again. And he told her that he wanted to marry her and take her home and be very happy together. And they did so, and they lived very happily together, and they had 2 wonderful children, a boy and a girl, who grew up strong and kind, and their mother loved them with all her heart. And the huntsman husband made sure to hide the feather robe so that his wife would not fly away. One day, some years later, their little daughter was playing hide-and-seek with her brother, and she squeezed behind the wardrobe to hide herself, and found there a robe made all of feathers, and she took it to her mother. As soon as the mother saw it, she put it on, and she said to her daughter, "Tell your father that if he wishes to see me again, he must find me in the land east of the sun and west of the moon." And with that, she flew away. When the hunter came home from hunting, his little daughter told him what had happened and what her mother said. And so he set out to find his wife in the land east of the sun and west of the moon. And he wandered for many days until he came across an old man who had fallen on the ground. And he lifted him up and helped him to a seat and looked after him until he felt better. Then the old man asked him what was he doing and where was he going? And the huntsman told him all about the Swan Maidens and his wife, and he asked the old man if he had ever heard of the land east of the sun and west of the moon. And the old man said, "No, but I can ask." Then he uttered a shrill whistle, and soon all the ground in front of them was filled with all the beasts of the world, for the old man was no less than the king of the beasts. And he called out to them, "Who is there here that knows where the land is, east of the sun and west of the moon?" But none of the beasts knew. Then the old man said to the hunter, "You must go seek my brother, who is the king of the birds." And he told him how to find his brother. And after a while he found the king of the birds and told him what he wanted. So the king of the birds whistled loud and shrill, and soon the sky was darkened with all the birds of the air who flocked around him. Then he asked, "Which of you knows where is the land, east of the sun and west of the moon?" And none answered, and the king of the birds said, "Then you must consult my brother, the king of the fishes." And he told him how to find him. And the hunter went on, and he went on, and he went on, until he came to the king of the fishes, and he told him what he wanted. And the king of the fishes went to the shore of the sea, and summoned all the fishes of the sea. And when they came around him, he called out, "Which of you knows where is the land, east of the sun and west of the moon?" And none of them answered, until at last a dolphin that had just arrived called out, "I have heard that at the top of the Crystal Mountain lies the land east of the sun and west of the moon. I do not know how to get there, but I have heard that it is near the wild forest." So the hunter thanked the king of the fishes and went to the wild forest. And as he got near there, he found 2 men quarrelling or arguing. And as he approached, they came towards him and asked him to settle their dispute. "Now, what is it?" said the hunter. "Well, our father has given us these 2 things, this magic hat, which whenever you wear it, nobody can see you, and these shoes, which will carry you through the air to whatever place you wish. Now I, being the elder, think I should be able to choose which of these things I want to have, and he declares that, as the younger, he should get the shoes. So which one of us is right?" So the hunter thought, and at last he said, "It is difficult to decide, but the best thing I can think of is for you to race from here to that tree over there, and whoever gets back to me first, I will give him either the shoes or the hat, whichever one he chooses." So he took the shoes in one hand and the hat in the other, and waited until they had started off running towards the tree. And as soon as they had started running towards the tree, he put on the shoes of swiftness and placed the hat of invisibility on his head, and he wished himself in the land east of the sun and west of the moon. And he flew, and he flew, and he flew over 7 bens and 7 glens and 7 mountain moors, until at last he came to the Crystal Mountain. And on the top of that, just as the dolphin had said, there was the land east of the sun and west of the moon. And when he got there, he took off his invisible hat and shoes of swiftness, and he asked who ruled over the land. And he was told that there was a king who had 7 daughters who dressed in swan's feathers and flew wherever they wished. Then the hunter knew that he had come to the land of his wife, and he went boldly to the king and said, "Hail, O king, I have come to seek my wife." And the king said, "Who is she?" And the hunter said, "One of your daughters." And he told him how he had met and married her. Then the king said, "If you can tell her apart from her sisters, then I will know that what you say is true." And he summoned his 7 daughters to him, and there they all were, dressed in their robes of feathers, and looking exactly like each other. So the hunter said, "If I may take each of them by the hand, I will surely know my wife." For when she had lived with him, she had sewn all the clothes for their children, and the forefinger of her right hand had the marks of the needle. And when he had taken the hand of each of the swan maidens, he soon found which was his wife, and claimed her for his own. Then the king gave them both great gifts, and sent them by a safe way down the Crystal Mountain. And after a while they reached home, and they lived happily ever after. Such an interesting story. Sometimes I think the older stories have the most to think about. That huntsman was very, very good at hunting. He hunted for his wife all around the world until he found her. And it was very clever of the king to ask the huntsman if he could tell her apart from her sisters. The huntsman and the king both knew that things can look the same, people can look the same, but that doesn't mean they are the same. All 7 of those swan maidens looked the same, but only one of them was the wife of the huntsman. I'm glad they got home together. It's always nice to have a happy ending. And I like to think that the huntsman's wife was able to join her sisters and fly through the night as swans again.
What a great story. And can you imagine memorizing that whole story and telling it to someone? How they used to tell stories before they wrote them down? That would be really impressive. Well, Deprecatus, I'm sure you could do it. You can tell massive stories with just a couple of meows. I don't know how you do it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and for joining us at the Old Library every week. If you want a shout out, we'd love to hear from you on Instagram at Stories From Now and Then, and you could have a future episode dedicated to you. Stories From Now and Then is narrated by the amazing Nicola Ward, music by Captain Blunderface. And remember, if you like the Old Library vibe, all you gotta do is subscribe to
Stories from now and then.